Have you ever stopped to wonder, why do some women seem to be on a stage where the curtain never closes? Why is their body always exposed, but their soul never? The woman who constantly posts sensual photos isn't just showing off, she's selling herself. Not for money, but for attention. It's an invisible, silent, but cruel transaction. She offers her image, and in return, demands power. She wants everyone's gaze, including yours.
But the question you never asked is, when you give her that gaze, what does she give you in return? Schopenhauer said that desire is suffering, because to desire is to live in lack. And the man who desires a woman who constantly displays herself is condemned to an invisible prison. He thinks he has access, but only receives crumbs. Thinks he's close, but he's just one among thousands, a number, a like, an applause in the crowd. And here comes the trap.
You believe that because you're with her, you're the chosen one. But the whole world has already seen what, in theory, should be intimate. She didn't choose you. She chose herself as a product, as a display, as an object of collective desire. And you, even while present, have already started to disappear. The suffering of the modern man is this: falling in love with someone who doesn't see him, investing in someone who needs a stage, not a partner, trying to fill the emptiness of someone too busy selling her image to recognize your worth. And while you fight to be noticed, she feeds off the gaze of others. It's not physical betrayal, it's symbolic betrayal. It's the subtle contempt you feel but can't quite name. But there comes a moment when the man stops, not because he stopped feeling, but because he started seeing clearly. The Stoic doesn't walk away out of pride, he walks away out of clarity. Because there is no honor in competing with the world for the respect of someone who should choose you in silence. If her body is in permanent exhibition, your dignity is slowly being auctioned off. And then comes the question no one taught you to ask. What do you represent to a woman who shows herself to everyone? What's left that's exclusive when what was sacred has become spectacle? The Stoic is not offended, he observes. And then he walks away, without drama, without a speech. Just with the firmness of someone who knows what he tolerates and what he no longer will. Now that you've understood this, look again at that timeline that used to make you feel envy. It's not freedom, it's disguised emptiness, desperation, wearing the mask of power. And if you stay, you'll become just another spectator in the life of someone who will never truly see you. Be the man who watches and walks away, not the one who insists and disappears. Now let's talk about what this really means. Because you might be in a relationship alone. She's not cheating on you with another man. She's cheating on you with the entire world. With every photo posted to provoke desire, every calculated pose, every ambiguous caption, she sends a message that you feel but refuse to translate. I want to be seen by everyone, including those who are not you. You feel it, but you mask it. You justify it. You tell yourself it's not important, that it's just a phase, that she's just like that. But deep down, there's a silent voice telling you something is wrong, that it's not normal to feel so invisible next to someone so visible. And this is where you're mistaken. You think you're in a relationship, but you're just a foundation she uses to keep seeking sparkle in other people's eyes. You are the stable background while she projects herself in digital storefronts. She doesn't want you to build with. She wants you to sustain the narrative that she has someone, but not just anyone. Someone who validates, who permits, who applauds while she dances alone. You start to feel drained. You try to make up for it. You become more present, more kind, more available, but none of it fills her void because it's not about love, it's about audience. And on this stage, your role is spectator, not protagonist.
That's the pain of many men, realizing too late that they were alone, even while accompanied, that they were silently competing with thousands and never stood a chance. Because she doesn't want to choose. She wants to be desired by everyone. And if you don't wake up, you'll just be another man who gave everything to someone who needed anything except you. The true Stoic sees this without anger. He doesn't shout, doesn't accuse. He simply closes the curtain, silences the stage,
and walks away with the dignity she never knew how to value. Because when you compete with the world, you've already lost. But when you choose not to compete, you're finally free. She says she's living her freedom, that posting her body is expression, empowerment, identity. But behind every sophisticated justification lies a truth no one dares say. The more she exposes herself, the more she gets lost. The more she needs to be seen, the less she knows who she is. The digital display window is often the grave of true self-esteem. A confident woman doesn't need to constantly show herself. She is felt, not sold. But the woman who seeks daily approval is at war with her own value. A silent war, disguised in selfies, likes, and cheap compliments. What you see as freedom is neediness with a filter, insecurity disguised as strength, the wounded child inside her screaming, "See me, approve me, choose me," and you, unknowingly, play along. You think it's cool, modern, that you shouldn't be bothered, but you are. Because your instinct picks up what your reason tries to deny. She's not showing love, she's displaying competition. She's promoting herself in a marketplace of desire. Schopenhauer warned that beauty is an intellectual trap. It seduces but doesn't deliver. It shines but doesn't warm. It attracts but doesn't stay. That's why so many men feel both mesmerized and hollow at the same time. They're beside a woman who draws the world in, but offers no shelter, no silence, no depth. The Stoic man isn't fooled by appearances. He knows that what shines too brightly often wants to hide something. And the more someone needs to show, the less confidence they have in what's inside. Intense light doesn't illuminate, it blinds. And those who walk blindly stumble over their own pride. Maybe you're in love with the storefront, but storefronts don't love you back.
They just keep you staring while selling something that was never yours. There's a difference between being present and being a priority. Many men confuse the two. They believe that being physically by her side means they've been chosen. But being her companion in the real world doesn't mean you're the center of her emotional choice. And most only realize this when they're deeply invested, too late. While you try to maintain the connection, she tries to maintain the performance. You build presence, she builds audience. You want intimacy, she wants impact. Same stage, different roles. And you don't realize you're just the quiet backdrop to the main performance herself. She posts, she poses, she seduces, and you, behind the scenes, handle the lights, control the sound, ensure the stability. You're the backstage technician, not part of the show, just making sure it happens. It's a silent role reversal. While you believe you're being loved, you're simply being used for support. While you think you're enough, you're just the base for her game with the world. And in this game, understand clearly, you're not meant to win, because the moment she seduces everyone, she's already stopped seeing you as unique. Female desire doesn't arise from constant presence. It comes from felt absence, from emotional scarcity.
From the calm firmness of a man who doesn't need to be constantly available to be indispensable. You became the scenery. And scenery doesn't shine, isn't noticed, it's just there, static, while the main act unfolds without you. And that's the wound most men can't bear to face. They're not being rejected openly. They're being consistently ignored. And being ignored is worse than being rejected, because rejection sets you free. Ignoring consumes you. The Stoic man doesn't accept being background noise. He doesn't yell, doesn't beg. He simply turns away when he understands his presence has been reduced to functional silence. And in that retreat, he doesn't lose, he finds himself, because walking away from being used is never loss, it's rebirth. There is silent power in stopping your reactions, in not liking, in not commenting, in not validating what disrespects you, because as long as you feed the game, you're a part of it. But when you withdraw, not with anger, not with speeches, but with the firmness of someone who understands, something changes. She notices, not right away, but she does. Absence has a sound, an echo, a void that screams louder than any desperate presence, and it's in that space that the game shifts. Because the man who doesn't bow intrigues. The man who doesn't applaud attracts. The man who doesn't need to prove anything becomes unforgettable. You must become strategic absence.
And that's not playing games. That's posture, emotional intelligence. It's saying without words, I know my worth, and I don't trade it for crumbs. When you vanish from validation, she's forced to look inward, and she might find the discomfort of not knowing if she still has you. That doubt is powerful. In it lives respect, desire, reconsideration, but it only appears when you stop trying, because while you chase, she rests. While you seek, she pulls away. While you prove, she tests. Your strength is in not chasing, in observing, in keeping your gaze calm, your speech measured, your presence whole. You're not an immediate answer. You're a mystery, revealed slowly and only to those who deserve it. This is the kind of man who doesn't announce himself. He reveals. Who doesn't justify. He imposes. Who doesn't need to be seen to have value, because his value is already within. His silence weighs more than any speech, and in that silence, he becomes unforgettable. Those who live to be noticed can't handle those who choose to disappear. And that's why, when you stop reacting, she starts searching. The body speaks before the word. The way you enter a room, how you sit, how you breathe, already shows whether you're asking for permission or offering presence. A man who knows what he tolerates doesn't need to shout or prove himself. He simply is. And to truly be is the most powerful way to communicate worth. Aligned shoulders, steady chest, direct, deep, firm, calm, direct gaze, quiet without tension, breath without hurry. It's not about appearing strong. It's about being, because firmness doesn't come from effort. It comes from clarity, from knowing you won't accept less than respect. That desire without respect is a dirty currency you no longer agree to trade. As long as you react to the game, you're playing. But when your energy shifts, when you walk lightly but firmly, she feels it, even if she doesn't say. Because yes, women test. You don't need to be aggressive, you need to be defined. What you accept defines you. What you ignore strengthens you. And what you silence becomes your territory. The presence of a man who knows what he doesn't tolerate feels like a wall. Invisible but non-negotiable. And that kind of man, no one forgets. You weren't born to be scenery in the theater of someone who lives for the world's applause.
You weren't born to be emotional infrastructure for a woman who only feels fulfilled when everyone sees her, but who never commits to someone who truly sees her. That's not love. That's use. That's stage. That's convenience. Your pain doesn't come from rejection. It comes from omission, from being beside her, but never at the center, from giving everything and being treated as nothing, from watching your dignity drain away in silence while pretending it was normal. But it's not. It never was. Saying no is hard, especially when you still feel, when you still want, when you still believe it can be different. But saying no, in this case, is the only act of self-love possible. It's not pride, it's cleansing, protection, the end of a cycle that only exists because you still insist. If she shows herself to everyone, what's left for you? If she lives to be seen, why are you still trying to be noticed? The Stoic doesn't compete for attention. He walks away with clarity. And in that withdrawal, he doesn't take revenge, he respects himself. A man's true power is not in holding on to what diminishes him. It's in letting go of what confuses, drains, and hurts, even when his heart is still tied. And that decision is freedom. When you stop chasing someone who lives to be seen, something changes, not in her, in you. Because the man who chooses his peace over crumbs begins to be seen, not by those who use him, but by those who truly see him. And those who truly see, stay.